So next up, we have how NFTs in gaming can become one of the largest use cases in blockchain. I think that, that big picture concept is kind of why we're all here. So I'm excited for this panel. Baptiste Cota, the founding partner of Lead Block Partners. Vince Howard from OpiPets, marketing director. Gab from Inguaz, founder and CEO. And Manuel Sort. Very excited for this panel. And I've got a microphone. Who's missing one? Okay, take it away.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody for staying on for the conference. So we were just making a joke earlier, myself and Baptiste, about this being really decentralized in the fact that we have no moderator, and half of us have only just met. So we're going to, I think, introduce ourselves. My name is Vince Howard. I'm the marketing director for OpiPets. We are developing a play and earn game, essentially focusing on it being a game. I think that's probably the most important part of being able to develop a title that works within this space and not focus too much on the technology, because I don't think people care about it really. Do you want to introduce yourself, Manel, as well?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Manel Sort. I'm the CEO at Games for a Living. We're focused on taking Web3 to the mass market. For that, we're on one hand developing a platform that includes a blockchain, and on the other, we're preparing products that will take Web3 experiences to the mass market.
Hi everyone, Baptiste, founding partner at Lead Block Partners. We're a VC fund investing in the blockchain space, specifically Web3, NFTs, etc. We've made a number of gaming investments. Venly, that some of you may know, developer tools for game studios. We've put some money in Yuga Labs, that probably a lot of you know. Also Hex Trust, and quite keen to see what's next.
Hi, my name is Gab, and I'm the CEO of Inguaz, a gaming company, mostly based in Portugal and Brazil. And we focus on actually create GameFi in emerging countries, so Nigeria in Africa, Brazil in South America, and that's where the crypto and Web3 world has the most impact. And yeah, I'm here to talk about it with you guys. So I don't know if maybe you guys want me to start, because we don't have no moderator, as our friend says, so we're just gonna have a conversation. We wish we could ask questions, but apparently we cannot. I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, I believe so. So I think for the sake of the audience, if we go down the line, what is your opinion, Manel, on how NFTs can become one of the best use cases for blockchain technology?
We have several visions. I mean, what we need to see is practical success cases that sustain on the long term. But I can explain you what, for example, we have several use cases at G4EL. I'll explain one that's very easy to explain. I worked at King. I know really well match-3 games and how they work. And we looked at the data, and it says that the 53% of the players are males, and they are around 37 years old. So if you look at the type of visuals, etc., for a game, that's not the most appealing. If you look at the aesthetics currently of Candy Crush, which is very childish. So what we've done is a game, like a standard game, where basically you build your super luxury mansion. We have where you have these super luxurious items. We have in the team Javier León, who is one of the top digital artists in the world, and to put an example, one of his NFTs was sold at auction for more than $1.5 million. So he's working on these NFTs that are the part of the game that will make it special. So you have this foundation, which is a great Web2 game that will work as a Web2 game. But then, if you want, you can access the leagues. When you access the leagues, there's competitions of teams of 30, up to 30 people in each team, and they will compete to get the best score. If you get the best score, you get a collection of NFTs. Let's put an example. Let's imagine that this is the month of Chanel, and you get a Chanel bottle if you are one of the winners. So the first team gets 5 Chanel bottles, the second team gets 3, and the third team gets 2 Chanel bottles. Now, the cool thing, what we're doing with NFTs, is we want to increase, on one side, the monetization side, and also we want to increase the virality and the retention part of things. So how we do it is, when you get these NFTs, you don't only get them. Okay, once a player gets them, they can sell them. They can sell them at the application, or they can go to OpenSea and sell them there, or whatever NFT marketplace they prefer, because we are cross-chain. Now, the thing is that when you take one of these NFTs and merge it with another one, in our platform, you get one that's better. So as it's called, this game is called Diamond Dreams. So you get more diamonds on what's the NFT itself. So once, imagine that there are 5 Chanel bottle NFTs in the world. If I merge 2, I get a better one. But if I manage to merge all of them, all the 5 ones, I get the super Chanel bottle. And that unlocks a real experience. Maybe you can go to Chanel and get to see how they produce the bottles, etc., and get to know some of the top designers. Now that also creates a secondary market, which creates virality, retention, and different types of monetization.
Maybe, yeah, bouncing on Vince's question, like what do we need to make gaming the largest use case? I think there's 3 core things to me. One is making things easier. Like we all know how to get MetaMask, buy ETH, buy whatever, but it's like a total pain. And the people you cross on the street will never do that. We won't have 1 billion users that do that. It's just too complicated. So we need to solve that. The second thing we need to solve is actually be more innovative about what we use blockchain for. So collectibles, I think, are great, and starting there is perfect. But we can do a lot more things. We can reward user-generated content. We can enable communities to better, to evolve the game, to vote, to have more governance. We can have identities move between games. So there's a lot of areas where we can really innovate. And I think one of the other ones is gameplay. Like how do we enable NFTs in-game, and how does that change the gameplay? Just maybe one example on that. Maybe some of you looked at Shrapnel, the FPS game. So if you have an NFT weapon and you die, you lose it. How does that change the way you play? It should, probably. Let's see. That's just one example. There's so many things we need to do. So let's try to innovate more. And the last thing I think we need is tools. I mean, it's just so hard to build stuff in the space. You have to build everything from the ground up most of the time. So we need more tools to make it easier to try, iterate, innovate, fail, and succeed at the same time. Make it cheaper and faster. And I think if we have all 3, we'll go from the 1 million gamers today, which is peanuts, right, to billions, literally. Gaming is, what, a $300 billion market annually. And blockchain for gaming is, well, nothing. So there's a whole, there's a lot of growth ahead.
I want to, take you up on that is because my point of view is a bit different. To be honest with you, I don't really care about the mass market because, so the gaming, everybody's like, it's 300 billion, which is fine, it's crazy, it's a lot of money. Number 1 entertainment. But the truth of the matter is, within gaming, you got a lot of different things. You got free-to-play, you got people who play different games. Like people who play FIFA, for example, might not play LoL. Like, they might not play League of Legends because they're not the same. It's a culture thing. Like the way you play, the way you interact with gaming, what it does for you, it's so different. So when people be like, yeah, it's 300 billion, like we can grow just as much, I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm really not sure because people who play Web3 gaming have a culture themselves. Like, we should focus on growing these people to, so we can grow together. And they might convert other people. Like, I'm not saying it's not our work, but I'm saying, like, to be focused on converting other gamers might be a pain in the ass. I mean, can I curse?
It's decentralized. Say what you want.
Yeah, well, it's hard to convert people. Might as well be focused on people who understand the power of this technology and understand how community-driven game works, and it comes along because it did that for free-to-play as well. Like, a lot of people, when free-to-play came, nobody was like, yo, it's free, it's weird, why do I have to pay for this? Now, look, like, free-to-play is its own business within gaming that you cannot compare to PS5. It's like, it's different. So to me, let's just focus on people that we have. Even if it's 1 million, 1 million is already a market. Like, what I'm saying? Like, that's how it works. Like, they will get involved and make other people involved. And that's, to me, the best use case of NFT is being focused on the community that we have and that drive us to create.
Because this is decentralized, I don't feel like I'm under any pressure to uphold the topic. But I'm going to take another view to make this interesting. We've got a lovely audience. We don't want to put them to sleep. So I'm going to say it doesn't matter. Why do we care? Blockchain can be used for many different things, from identity, ownership of property, art, money transfer. There's loads of different use cases, and ultimately, one of them, many of them may succeed. They may become very popular. They may not. Doesn't really matter. When the internet came about, people use this example quite often. Nobody cared about the protocol that worked. Nobody cared about HTTPS. We just wanted to be able to do something with it. Can I send an email to somebody? Can I achieve something I couldn't without the technology? So ultimately, whether it's blockchain, whether it's NFTs, whether it's gaming, is irrelevant. People want better and enriched experiences, and I think that's what we should all be focused on, whatever our discipline is, whatever we're trying to achieve. Does it make people's life more entertaining? Does it make their life easier in some way? If it does that, ultimately it will find its own audience. And as you said, it could be 1 billion people, it could be 1 million people. But what I find very interesting at the moment, we know that wallets connected to gaming outnumber wallets connected to DeFi. So I think it's already probably telling us that gaming as a gateway drug is probably one of the most potent ways to get people involved. And I'd also say that from a gaming point of view, I'm not a gamer, and I say this on every panel, which kind of shoots me in the foot, but I'm just honest. And I think what I've noticed with gaming and the gaming community is they're usually the first people to try new technology. They're willing to deal with the bugs, they're willing to deal with the bad user experiences, and they're also very vocal about those. So I'd say that the gaming community is really, really important in refining the technology and making sure ultimately when it goes mass market, it works for the majority of people, because gamers, they're very, very quick to tell you when things are not working.
And I just want to add to that, because there's different type of gamers, even in Web3. And there's even different type of game. Like, you have to understand, there's a difference between a blockchain game and a DeFi protocol gamified. Like, it's two different things. So picture it like this. If I play to get money, because I'm in the Philippines and my culture is like, about gaming, but I cannot work as much. So I will play different. I will play to gain money, which might, for other players overseas who make way more money, be disturbing, because I'm like, oh, people like overseas people be like, oh, he played because he wants to get money. That fucked up the whole game, the tokenomics and all of that. Because tokenomics, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of game tokenomics sucks. And I own a GameFi company, and I've seen a lot of tokenomics where I'd be like, that sucks. Actually, tokenomics sucks. Like, be honest, that's why it crashed so much sometimes. You're like, damn, like, now you're only gonna win peanuts, And when you started, you could win like 1,000, But the inflation is just a reproduction of what we live today as a human being with central banks. Like, you have to burn, you have to do this, and it's just, it brings so much, but at the same time, the way it's laid out is different for different culture in different countries. So I believe like we need also focus on like what NFT could bring to people outside of what we know.
And maybe bouncing on that, I mean, one of the things that you're alluding to in a way is the need to really earn a lot in order to play these games. And so I think most of the games today are not really games, they're a gamified financial speculation tool in a way. And in this space, we've seen a lot. We've seen ICOs, we've seen that in DeFi. We've seen that with NFTs, we're seeing that with gaming. It's just another way to speculate on stuff for a number of games. And so that means they're not great games, you're just there to make money, right? And when the tokenomics fail, then people leave. And so, that's fine, but I do think there's a lot of games coming out now, which take time. Like a good game takes a lot of time, a lot of money. I think previous panel mentioned that, which are coming. And that will be super exciting to see people play the game because it's fun and also make capital, make money. And maybe to give you an example of like 20 years ago, if you take World of Warcraft, we used to have people farming gold. We used to have people leveling up to level 60 and selling, the password and login. You had a huge economy around that. And these people were where? They were in Southeast Asia. Who are the scholars that are now playing Axie Infinity? They're in the same countries. So these are not gamers. The game, I'm not insulting anyone here, right? It's just,
It's just different type of gamers.
Exactly.
Like, they're still gamers,
But I think we can onboard gamers that live in the UK, that live in the US, that live in Europe. We just need to offer them better games.
I completely agree with that. And it's a really good point, because when you look at that 290, 300 billion, depending on where you get your stats from, gaming industry, only about 30%, 27-30% are traditional hardcore gamers. The majority of gamers worldwide are casual gamers. That, you know, people that excuse the illustration, but sitting on the toilet playing, you know, Candy Crush. They're not necessarily people that are sitting on a console and are interested in lots of lore. So there's different flavors for lots of different people. And again, just to go back to the point about blockchain or not, I think it's really irrelevant. People want a good gaming experience. The problem that we see now, and I think you were mentioning it, Baptiste, about play to win, pay to earn, and all of the other different flavors we're aware of, they're not really games, because ultimately when the rewards and the tokenomics don't work, just look at the Axie Infinity daily users total and what's happened over the past year. So I think that tells us that in my opinion, you're either about the game or you're about the earning. I think it's very, very difficult to do both. And I think this is why gamers that we know of reject play to earn, they reject NFTs because they don't want it to be a job. And the way the tokenomics for a lot of games works, they just attract guilds, they attract scholars, which means it becomes work for people. It's not a game. And I don't want to shill, you know, we're not really here for that, but just to explain that what we're doing with OppiPets is we are creating a game that doesn't require any paying. It's free to play. You earn within the game, and within the game, you go on quests, you do battles. There's just lots of different lore involved in the game, because fundamentally, we know we need to make a game first. If that doesn't work, then forget the fancy tokenomics and forget all the money that goes into marketing. Ultimately, the project will not last. And I hope that in this bear market, more projects are focusing on making good games and not worrying about raising money. I know it's important, but the focus has to be about making a game that people are going to enjoy.
I would like to add on all of that. Like myself, I've been in the games industry for more than 25 years now, so I've seen many changes. And this one reminds me so much to what I saw when there was all this social games thing. I was coming from console, then I moved to social games. And what we could see there is very similar to what you have today. On one hand, you have the technology. We had two different types of technology. The client development technology, where they had to be Flash or Java, and all the debates about that, or OpenGL. And the other case was the backend infrastructure, whether we had to have the servers at home or we had to use things like Amazon Web Services. We got quite a few back and forward. So, for example, we tried our servers, then to Amazon, it was immature, then back to our servers, then finally back to Amazon. So this is normal. This takes time. But at the end of the day, is about you need a win-win situation for everyone. So what happened in that case was very clear. You got games that are for free, and actually these free games ended up making more money because those who were willing to pay were not put a price cap at $60. They could pay as much as they felt the game was worth for them. So that ended up with a superior business model, and that's, for example, why. And for me, that's across games. So let's be very clear. That's not console, mobile games, and Facebook games, all of that. I think that's pretty much how it worked like many years ago. Last project I worked on was on Call of Duty after the acquisition by Activision, and we basically did a knowledge transfer. Now you have Warzone, and that makes twice as much money as the normal Call of Duty. So basically the fundamentals are the same. If we put numbers, you have, if you put all the GTA games together, it's 5 billion. If you put, no, maybe 6 billion. If you put all the Halo games, it's 5 billion. If you put Candy Crush, that's 9 billion. If you put League of Legends, that's 12 billion, and so forth. So definitely free-to-play games are making way more money than traditional games as of today. And I think this is a major change that we'll see. It will take time. And the first thing that needs to happen, and that happened, that was the first trigger in the case of social games. And then in the same way that now people talk about tokenomics, etc., back then was social graph engineering. So basically, you had to figure out how your social graph works to create the right virality and things like that. So I think we're seeing something very similar. And what you really need is a game that has a superior business model. As soon as major companies see that they can take the game that they have, make it using Web3, and make as much money, or well, actually more money, way more money than they do with the current approach, and it's legally safe for them to do that, they will do the change. So until we achieve that, so right now you cannot say, you cannot take any of the games that I've seen in the market and go to any major publisher and say, look, take your game, apply this new business model, and you're going to be making more money with it, and you'll be safe. That's not happened yet, and that's what I think all of us here working have to achieve in the next couple of years. But I really believe it will happen, as it happened before. And the reason is why I believe so profoundly that that will happen is the same as I believe with free-to-play. With free-to-play was like, if you can now play the game for free, okay, you will be willing to play more the game. And if you can pay as much as you want, if you really like the game, you may well pay way more than $60 for a game. So I see here the rationale being the same. If now you can get some profit out of your time in the game, you'll be willing to play the game more, and also you'll be willing to pay and invest in the game more. So let's see if the rationale proves true, and we'll see that in the next few years.
Can I ask you guys a question? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
What do you think the biggest issue is, singularly, to make this work, NFTs, gaming, and to increase adoption? And that's for everybody.
The single thing,
Biggest issue.
the biggest issue, like Baptiste said, it's complicated. Like the UX is not easy nowadays. Like, you know, it's the number one thing. But again, the biggest issue might be the UX and also what people want in the game. Like you say yourself, like there's, you know, let's create a game and a fun game. And some other people like, yeah, let's make money in the game. Like, you know, so how in the same place, in the same spot, you can address two different populations that can spend money in the game and grow the community. You know, that's where the balance needs to be done. And it's hard because there needs to be like tools that be like, okay, like this guy won this much, he cannot play no more, but are you decentralized when you do that? Like, you know, that's when it starts to be complicated and put DAO in it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ease of use, number one, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it already, so I don't want to expand. I guess the secondary aspect is just making it easier to build for game developers like you guys. Because it just, you know, it's too slow, too expensive, and too difficult. And I think one of the reasons why games aren't great today is because they're built by blockchain devs and not by game developers.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you need to be a blockchain game because it's just too hard to build.
So many design that sucks.
Yeah. So we need to get the actual game devs the tools to build blockchain devs easily, basically.
So I will add that maybe a bit more concrete in my point of view here, specifically and I will say a metric that for me is very important. So we did a large scale market research where we were looking whether there was anything correlated with the success of the game. We looked at games with marketing budgets for the first couple of months of more than $300 million. We looked at games with pretty much no marketing. We looked at all the kind of different genres, etc. We were trying to see whether there was any of the parameters, any of the metrics of the game that will tell you and whether that will be a success or not. And we found one, interestingly enough, which was basically the day 14 divided by day 7 retention. Now that's very important. That basically tells you how long the game will sustain for, and that triggered a whole area of data science that, for example, if you search my name and the Nature magazine, you'll see that we did a lot of research, so much that was interesting to the scientific community, and we published part of that work, only like 20% of all the work we did at King, for example. But that's there. So I think that metric is very key. And one of the biggest problems is that if you look at any of the current games in Web3, they are not achieving this long tail. And that's very, very fundamental to the success of the industry.
Unfortunately, the answers were so great, I can't add to that, and I asked the question. But what I will say is agree with pretty much everything the guys are saying. Web3 means, in many aspects, that the community or people can find their own niche, and whether that's in gaming, whether that's within DeFi, they can support projects that they believe will work and identify with what they're into and what they're interested in. As a result of that, there are going to be a lot of failures because not all of these ideas will scale to a larger audience. But I do think it means that there is an opportunity for many different products that would have depended on a VC to back and to give an opinion on. You have a much better chance of getting your idea to fruition. Whether your idea is sustainable and scalable is another issue. So I think it's really important that within gaming and within NFTs, we don't, I can see they're creeping in, so I'm going to have to wrap up, but I think we don't focus on, we don't just focus on whether the product is interesting to us as builders, as people who are in the industry, we focus on the feedback from the community, because ultimately you'll live and die by that. Thank you, everyone, and we're all available outside later on if anybody wants to chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.